having just watched this new Manosphere documentary, it's really hard for me not to see the parallels between how a podcast like Fresh and Fit, where they regularly, for those of you, God bless you if you're not familiar with what this podcast world is like out here, but they regularly get a panel. How would you describe it, Magdalene?
We'll start here. You can rate her. And then we'll go around.
Yeah, one thing to improve her looks.
1 out of 10, and then one thing to improve her looks. 1 out of 10.
All right, let me look at this masterpiece.
You can't use 8
I love
to 10.
her. That was a good one.
Wait, you can't use 8 to 10?
You cannot use 8 to 10.
They can't use 8 to 10.
What?
I mean, a 10 assumes that they're perfect, ladies.
Yeah.
So you gotta rate 1
Is
through
anyone here
7?
perfect?
Everybody here is perfect?
Yeah,
to me.
I got a lazy eye.
Yes. No,
you catch me at the right clip, I'm gonna be looking like that.
No, girl, stop.
Well, you
Everybody's
can, but
perfect.
be realistic.
All right, all right.
Oh,
I'll
shit.
give her 6.5.
Okay.
All right.
How could
She-
she improve?
I think she'll look better without the eyelashes, like natural eyelashes. I think it'll be a hit.
Okay.
But she's beautiful.
All right.
Cool.
Now you go ahead and rate her next to you. 1 to
So-
10.
What's up, baby?
You can't use 10.
I know, so I can't use 8 and above. Okay. 7. I think you would look good with darker hair. Like all.
Of like 6 or 7 women, young women in their early 20s.
Yeah. Mostly OnlyFans models or, otherwise Instagram models, women with large social media followings, usually intentionally curated to provoke a negative attitude towards women in general, by making these women look superficial or stupid. And they follow sort of a debate format where they're asking these OnlyFans models to, I don't know, talk about feminism and men's issues. And the whole thing is basically just to generate a viral clip where they can laugh and say that, women are so stupid.
Yeah, they'll do something like at one point in the Netflix doc, they ask the women to name 3 countries. And some of the women start like naming cities, for example. And it's like, case closed, women are morons, right?
I have a question though.
Okay. Yep.
Ladies, if you don't mind, can you name 3 countries?
Portugal,
Motherfucking.
Barcelona.
Okay, what about you?
The format seemed mainly a chance to embarrass the female guests.
But it's also about who they're selecting to come on. So the universe of people that exists in their world are all very young. Occasionally the men are older. The men are allowed to be sort of in their 30s. Sometimes you'll get people that are like in their early 40s. But the women are uniformly chosen for being young, naive, and usually involved in selling their looks in some way, either on OnlyFans or as sort of Instagram model types. And then they go on to talk about what's wrong with women and dating and relationship dynamics by saying women are all superficial. All they have is their looks. Young women can do anything they want in the world because they can weaponize their looks against men. And that's why women have all the power and men don't, justifying the abuse of said women because they actually have all the power, but excluding the reality that the overwhelming majority of women are nothing like the women on these panels, no disrespect to them, but because they're older, because they have very different kinds of jobs, because they're not considered to be attractive in the ways that the men here believe all women apparently are, that they could then, seduce the man into giving them a yacht or whatever this fantasy is. So they create this very specific world with very specific rules. And one of those rules seems to be a part of that rule, framework is that you have to be sort of bought into this cultural understanding of what the value hierarchies are. And I feel like there's a very similar thing that's happening culturally. I mean, it's not the same. It's not the same. It's not actually horseshoe theory. This is the problem with horseshoe theory as a political analysis to begin with, blah, blah, blah. We all understand that. As someone who is on the left is accused of being just like people on the right, I get it. But there is a weird parallel between the way that this kind of progressive culture of wanting to be inclusive, of wanting to respect everybody's kinds of lifestyles, including polyamory, of Lindy wanting to defer to her husband as a Black man, saying that monogamy is sort of like slavery, actually, if you think about it. And it's sort of like colonialism, if you think about it, to manipulate people into dynamics they don't want to be a part of. And in this like weird online manosphere world, it does feel like there were rules about being a cool girl, not demanding too much, leaning into the idea that your value is on this one very narrow axis. And the men similarly, in ways that are restrictive to their like full humanity, that they are only valued for one narrow thing. And watching everybody play along is fascinating.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, it's really quite confusing to me. I mean, it's ultimately a tale as old as time, misogynistic men talking about how much they hate women, but still in some form or another wanting their presence and approval in company, even if only sexually, though I think that what the documentary highlights is that a lot of that is rather dubious. But throughout the documentary, there's several moments where these men are trying to argue that they have this one-sided open relationship where they are the only ones who get to sleep with other women, and that their primary partner at home is very content to be at home. But whenever Theroux actually kind of tests those conversations with the women themselves, it's really revealed that none of that's actually all that true, and these women are not actually approving of this type of dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to have her by my side. She's been great, really helpful.
So one of the things we've been talking about is to do with relations between men and women. Myron's been quite open about the fact that he expects to be in a relationship in which there's one-way monogamy, as he calls it. He's allowed to basically pursue other relationships, but you're not.
The women that he's with, he's just gonna be with them for like a night or so, whatever. But I don't think he sees it in that way, because there is a reason why I've stayed so long with him.
I don't want to mix things up between you, right? But
yeah.
But we were talking about in the future that maybe there's a world where you would have more than one wife, right?
She understands that. She knows that could potentially come down in the future.
What do you say about that?
I don't know. I mean, he has said that in the past. I think I'll see when it happens. Like, I don't know how that will work. The thing is that I think...
But right now, it's not going to be anytime soon, because I'm just so focused on working.
But it could happen, right?
It could, of course.
You can kick it down the road only for so long. She's put 2 years into a relationship. If that's your long-term plan, at some point, those two realities will collide.
That's a bridge we'll cross when we get there. Like right now...
What does that mean? That's so avoidant.
It's something you never know, man. You can always change your mind down the road. Who knows? Maybe I'll say, I only just want to be with one girl, because the two would be too tough.
You've backtracked on that already.
And in the end, it also sort of seems like, with Myron Gaines in particular, I don't think he actually wants the company of several women. I think he can hardly manage one relationship, and toward the end of the documentary, he and his girlfriend Angie had broken up. But it's this sort of, it still just remains, a status symbol for them to say that they would have the opportunity to be around several women and have those women approve of their presence around these several women, despite the fact that none of them particularly like women.
And that is so core to this. Magdalene, I apologize for not introducing you earlier, but let's get your sort of credentials on the table now. Magdalene Taylor is a writer, cultural critic, and senior editor at Playboy. You also are the writer of a fantastic Substack, and you have written for GQ, New York Mag, a whole other slew of outlets. Your Substack is called Many Such Cases, and you recently wrote a piece about one of the key players in the Louis Theroux documentary on Netflix, clavicular. Clavicular might be the test case, like ground zero for this proposition that none of this is about sex, as you wrote. None of this is actually about gaining access, physical access to women. For people who might be struggling to wrap their brain around this, how do you come to that conclusion? What are the kinds of things that these men are saying that makes it kind of obvious that this isn't the traditional sort of game? The Game was a very popular book when I was in college that was supposed to teach men how to actually close the deal with women.
Yes.
This isn't pickup artist stuff. This is something of a different nature.
Completely. And I think that The Game is a really clear way of illuminating the difference. Because, if you read The Game and you think about the men who were involved in this early pickup artistry world and the people who, wanted to pursue that, they fundamentally liked women, wanted to be around women. They obviously very much wanted to have sex with women, but they did not lament really the idea that in order to have sex with a woman, you should be, flirting with her, spending time with her. I would say being nice to her, though. I mean, that's kind of a stretch when you think about something like, negging, the backhanded compliments that they use as a tool. But fundamentally, they still wanted to be around women, have conversations with them, do the game, as they call it, is, this broader, they say that, like, before you sleep with a woman in the game, that you have to spend at least 7 hours with her, which, not an extreme amount of time, but that's not quite, picking up a girl after one drink and bringing her home.
Yeah, it's not Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour stuff here.
No, but
it's a mere 7.
But when you listen to men in Clavicular's orbit, such as Justin Waller, who is in the documentary and was part of that whole Clavicular night out in Miami thing that happened a couple of weeks ago, he's talking about how he never takes women out on dates, how it's a waste of time, how there's just no reason really to have a conversation with a woman. And I apparently some of these men do still manage to have sex with women despite that. But in any case, it's very clear that they have no real interest in spending time with women. And with Clavicular in particular, he has essentially said that he also doesn't really have much interest in having sex with women, and that he views it as a waste of his time. Time that could be spent doing what exactly, I'm not sure, maybe perhaps live streaming. But he's been very clear that that sex and appealing to women is not his primary goal here. He is far more concerned with appealing to other men. And, while he would not say that it's a sexual appeal, perhaps that is, kind of a fundamental part of this like intersexual competition sort of thing. But all that is to, again, emphasize he's not doing this for women, and he's not doing it to have more sex with them.
Yeah, I mean, he was recently on the Adam Friedland show, and Adam Friedland asked him a bunch of questions about this. And to your point, he basically Adam is trying to persuade this young man who's 20 years old that
something like that, yeah.
he should try to do things for fun. He should, have his boys over and watch a movie and, do the kind of things that 20-year-olds historically have done. And Clavicular's reaction is, well, why would I do that if I couldn't stream it for content? And the same attitude applies to sex. There's a clip that was going around where he was talking to, I think, an older like middle-aged millennial porn star about sex and their world, and he was saying, he has erectile dysfunction as a very young man, perhaps as a consequence of porn consumption. Who knows? They don't really get into that in this clip, the whys, but that he has sex very infrequently and doesn't especially want to have sex any more than he already does.
CV test the other day on stream and I passed it.
I gotta get tested every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks? Is that like a
porn thing?
Porn thing. Okay.
But damn, dude, yeah, because like I always just think about that with all like the superstar rappers I know and everything, that it's like they get to fuck all these girls, but it's like the girls are too random, so they're just having to wear condoms and shit. And I kind of feel like I would rather just not. I would rather just
not want to deal
pass
with
it up. Like, I mean, just fucking with a condom is just the worst.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's the worst. And I have pretty serious ED already.
For real?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of shit. Like when I'm on bars or like I'll take something called pre-gab.
Okay.
So, throw a condom on there, it's not happening.
How many Xans you taking in a day?
Oh, it's like a once every 2 week thing.
Oh, okay.
If I just want to have a banger of a stream.
It's so good though,
honest.
right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so then the question is raised, then what is all of this about? And we've had this topic, we've been talking about, the male loneliness epidemic on the show in a couple of different iterations. And the response that I often get from male guests in particular is that there is an insufficient interrogation of why men feel isolated. And when we're talking about it on the show, often in the context of dating with people who are closer to my age and who aren't sort of necessarily in the economic circumstances that the men that feature in this documentary are, I think it's very easy to get away from some of the driving forces that are undergirding this whole dynamic. But when I was watching the Netflix documentary, I could not. I found it very difficult to see anything other than a real absence in these people's lives. Like culturally, in terms of like community, family, economically. And that, I think that's, to me, sort of the answer to who all of this is for and the why. And the constant centering of other men and a solicitation of male approval, not for like actually having sex. The sex is about a woman, right? Heterosexual sex, ultimately the goal is a woman. The goal isn't about that. It's about approval fundamentally from other men.
Yes. Yeah. And I sort of think that what we're seeing right now is, a distillation of the attention economy kind of being, the only locus of culture for a lot of young men, and that their entire, like ideological framework is basically founded upon what would get the most views on a kick stream. And, there's a lot of reasons for that, but it is fundamentally because there don't appear to be many other prospects for men right now, for young men, whether that's a true narrative or not. That is, I think, what a lot of young men believe, and what a lot of these streamers are very explicitly selling to young men is that, don't worry about any of that. I have the cheat code. I have the hack to escaping this dynamic, of being in the rat race, basically, where, you're unappreciated as a man, and women are out earning you, and all of that. These men are selling that idea through, Telegram groups and Discord groups with, financial products, whatever exactly that means. But, with somebody like Clavicular, the entire motivation is what will get the most views on these streams. And I think that is something that we probably culturally need to interrogate a bit more. Something I'm a bit suspicious of is that when you look at clavicular streams on Kick, they are somehow they're somehow all tied into, you know, like online gambling and sports betting. Those are the sponsors of most of these. And with HS Tiki Taki, one of the main characters of the documentary, you know, he has this whole dynamic of when he streams, somebody clips it, and those clips are sponsored by Stake. And so they're, you know, Stake gets some kind of promotion in the virality of these videos.
And Stake is one of these online gambling companies as well.
Yes. Sorry if you can hear people outside screaming. It's teenagers got out of school time.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, great. So yeah, you know, I feel as though there's been there's really been a hijacking of young men's attention, and this is a major cultural product of that hijacking.
Yeah, I mean, just to back it up a little bit, for those who don't know, a clavicular is the particular fella in this ecosystem who got famous by looks maxing, meaning making yourself look as attractive as possible, by bone crushing, which is tapping his face with a meat cleaver to try to stimulate bone growth in more aesthetic directions. Yeah. This is the thing that can make you very, very famous as a 20-year-old man. So there's a part during the documentary where Theroux sort of alludes to the idea that what the men are doing, performing for camera in these very, very long streams and doing everything for clout and content, is akin to what the OnlyFans women are doing. I think at one point he compares one of the men to Bonnie Blue, who is an adult film actor, or OnlyFans, I guess you would say, more model person, who is famous for having sex with many, like hundreds of men on camera at once. And the guy bulks. Like, he's like, what we're doing is not the same. Don't compare me to Bonnie Blue. She's horrible, da, 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 da. And he's like, well, I'm not saying you're literally doing the same thing, but isn't there something performative and sort of, you know, you're selling yourself, you're selling your body, you're selling your image. And the men absolutely reject that idea.
Completely.
Yeah.
The interview you did with Bonnie Blue, I thought was
You saw
interesting.
that?
Yeah, it was interesting.
I just think she's disgusting, bro. I just think she's absolutely repulsive as a person.
So why get her on the stream then?
Clout.
Chasing her clout?
Yeah. Views, which it did.
You've got 500,000 people on your Telegram, right?
Yeah.
And you're advertising OnlyFans girls on there.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a contradiction there?
No, because I openly say I don't give a fuck and I'm doing it for money. I don't care about
the morality of it.
I know it's not good. I say to people, don't watch porn. It's sad. It's loser shit.
You can't say I promote it, but I discourage people from doing it.
But you can.
You can say it, but it doesn't mean anything.
How does it not mean anything?
It's a bit like, say, come down to the gym, I'm going to help you work out, and then you come in the front door and there's just a row of donuts. Here's a box of donuts that I'm holding up to your face. If you eat that, you're a loser, but I'm going to go and work out now. It's like, well, I'm getting a very mixed message.
You do what you choose. If you want to go and eat the donuts, but I own the donut shop. So whether you come in the gym and pay for my PT or eat the donuts, I make dough either way. My kids are going to be very, very happy, very fulfilled. They can do what they want.
You sound a bit like Bonnie Blue.
In what way?
You're saying it doesn't really matter what choices I make because I'm making money and my kids will enjoy a high standard of living. So
Not
my
at all.
choices are irrelevant.
What, me posting a picture with a few girls is the same as getting shagged by 1,000 guys.
It's rationalising.
Don't compare me to Bonnie.
It's rationalising. Are you getting triggered?
I'm not getting triggered, but I don't know why you're talking shit, mate.
I very much see, you know, Bonnie Blue as a parallel to these figures. And, you know, I've written before that Bonnie Blue is sort of like the Mr. Beast of the adult industry, in that she is always, she's monetizing these stunts, basically. They're all sexual stunts that she's doing. And the headlines of those stunts are really what, you know, is driving attention to her. But that sort of the cognitive dissonance of these men in the documentary, I think, is really part and parcel of their overall thing of they really have this, this mentality of having it all, that they can, be the alpha male, but they can still be a victim in society, that, they can say whatever they want without having to actually face consequences for it. And, that basically that they get to live in a world, free of any of the confines or boundaries of, ethics or logic, really. And yeah.
Do you think this documentary was fundamentally successful?
I do. I think that the response that it's generated from the people involved in the documentary since has made it a big success. And I don't think that anybody has come out of watching the documentary and then seeing the way that people have reacted to it following its release. The people involved have looked at any of this and thought that these guys look good. I would say that I'd love to hear a story of, like, oh, I'm a 15-year-old man and I watched this documentary and now I don't think this is cool anymore. I don't know if that's happening. I don't know if, it's been a success in achieving, I think, its aims of highlighting the inconsistencies of this culture and the harms of this culture. And it's been a success in upsetting its subjects in a way that I think further has further kind of taken them down a notch. They don't look to be the cool, calm, collected alpha male that they want to be anymore. But it's totally possible that all of this is just occurring within a bubble, and that the people who love these men will continue to love these men, defend these men, and think that, Theroux is, some kind of deep state trying to make them look bad type of, whatever. They say so many bad things about him within the documentary. They say that he's, a pedophile and things that are just fundamentally untrue. So, I don't know.
He does kind of defend him against the pedophile charge. Because the irony, so the reason that happens is that they apparently do like stings on pedophiles. They have their own little version of Chris Hansen's To Catch a Predator. And so when Theroux, who's, in his, I don't know, late 40s, early 50s or something, salt and pepper guy, is seen standing on the street filming with one of these characters, random onlookers are like, oh, is that a pedo? And the guy's like, no, chill, like, he's this is Louis Theroux, he pronounces his name, like he's no pedo. And then Louis is like, thanks
you,
for having my back.
Did you hear that? Is that a pedo? No, this is Louis Theroux, mate, not a pedo.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Just so they know you're not getting stung right now.
But that's part of the dynamic. So there is this meta thing that emerges where various characters in the documentary will submit to being interviewed by Theroux, and then they, after the fact, are clearly anxious about how they're coming off. So because a documentary is delayed, right, post-production, and their means of interacting with the world is by live stream, they're constantly doing real-time efforts to PR manage whatever fallout from Theroux's framing and the documentary is going to be. And then Theroux, as he's putting together the documentary, is seeing them respond to parts that will be in the documentary later, and then we'll include that in his film. And it's this weird sort of generative portrait of what, frankly, is their deep insecurity about how they're viewed. Mm-hmm. And there's a weird irony to how frantic they get about the lack of control over the final product, when frankly there is not a ton of control. I mean, they do have some control in the streaming realm, but there's a lot of vulnerability in doing a live show and streaming live. And I think that the control that they have is who comes on their stream, and the, again, like I was alluding to before, the uniformity of sort of perspective that happens in these spaces, but they panic when it's a produced thing that happens in an environment that they have to know exists, where their opinions are in no way mainstream, and they can get skewered as I think they did.
Yeah. They seem really they seem to be kind of unaware of what a documentary is. And
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Just a reminder that this is a podcast. You can catch an extra premium episode every Monday for $5 a month at patreon.com/badfaithpodcast. That's patreon.com/badfaithpodcast for $5 a month, an extra episode every week. Additionally, please do consider liking this video, subscribing to this channel. It helps us out. It helps independent media beat the algorithm. We appreciate you. And as always, keep the faith.